Hey guys, Red the Nerd here, and oh boy did the marketing team butcher Transformers 1. As me being the biggest Transformers fan that could ever exist, some might say I'm the biggest bird. Instead of being a bird, I'm a biggest Transformers fan anyway. But when I heard that they were announcing a Transformers prequel movie that was going to be animated, takes place on Cybertron, an origin story to Optimus Prime and Megatron, and no humans involved, safe to say, I was extremely hyped for this film. But then when the first trailer came out, oh my god, it was atrocious. They used the worst parts of the film to advertise it. It was so bad. They used the badassatron joke. The first time that it was used, it was pretty funny. The second time, got a little chuckle out of me. And then when it kept going, I just got really I don't like it anymore. It needs to stop. And they used the worst aspects of the film, the worst scenes out of the film too. Not just in how it looks and everything, but just the worst possible scenes to spoil the entire thing basically. And it also looks like they used a different animation, and it looks like it's a different animation quality. And that's usually how animation goes when they put out a first trailer. The animation style looks a bit funky because it's not fully complete yet. An example of that is the Adventures of Buck Wild, the Disney Plus Ice Age movie that came out a few years back. That trailer is absolutely atrocious. I mean, just look at the goddamn thing. But also the film is also, some might say, equally worse than the trailer than itself. But, the point is animation can be a little bit tough sometimes when trailers. So, but just they use the worst parts of the film. And to say when I first saw that trailer, my hype and excitement and my expectations of the film leapt out the window, went down the street, and went across the fucking country, okay? It was so bad. But yet, I still went and saw it anyway, and it's absolutely amazing. This film is the best Transformers film to have ever come out. And I grew up with the Michael Bay Transformers movies, and I know that those aren't the greatest things, but man, the action in those movies, you can't argue. The action is spectacular. The Transformers themselves are badass as hell. But also the human characters are actually a lot better than the modern human characters. I know, I'm saying a lot, but I'm just saying it here. And I grew up with that, and I thought that was the hypest shit ever. And then when, I discovered G1 was a thing, then I watched the entirety of G1, and then Transformers the movie, I became more obsessed with the G1, aspect, and then I started watching all the shows and everything like that. So I had a lot of information and what I wanted a Transformers prequel story to be. And man, they knocked it out of the park extremely well. And that's can be said in the intro. An intro of a film is supposed to hook you, okay? The intro is supposed to get you into the film and introduce you to the characters and everything like that, and get you entranced in this world and believe in it. And that can't be said for the Michael Bay Transformers, because within the first 5 milliseconds of the third film, you get ass walking up the stairs. Thank God there's no ass or boobies in this movie, because there's no humans to have ass or boobies with. So I'm glad that they don't have that in here, because it would make the movie completely, go downhill. And also because it's a family film and they can't really do that, but, it's whatever. And so that can be said for the intro. But just as a whole, I really love this film. The fact that it takes place on Cybertron, which usually in all Transformers media, we don't see Cybertron in its heyday. We usually see it when it's completely destroyed by the thousands upon thousands of years that they've been, the Decepticons and Autobots have been fighting there, and they just completely destroyed their home planet. And half the time, Cybertron just looks like nothing, and sometimes it just gets devoured and everything like that. But in this film, you get to see what it looks like in its heyday, from beautiful skyscrapers to different technology that we have not seen in any Transformers media before. And then we also get to see, I mean, this is it's not really a spoiler because it was in the trailer, but the main setting of the city, the main city is not actually the surface of Cybertron. The surface is actually where all the scenery and all the nature comes from, which most of us thought, including me, were were thinking that they were going to take place on prehistoric Earth. Thank God that's not the case. That scenery is just the top of Cybertron, and my God, it's the scenery and the backdrops that they used through the beneath Cybertron and above Cybertron is absolutely amazing. It's so good. And just like the characters too, you also get to see how they were before they became, who they are now, especially with Optimus Prime and Megatron. In this film, Orion Pax is the younger version of Optimus Prime, and Megatron is, I forgot what he's called, but he's basically just a bunch of numbers and a letter. I think it was B120, no, not B126, that's Bumblebee, but, yeah, but Megatron, anyway. And you get to see how those characters began their friendship, and it's so good. It's very upbeat in the beginning. You get to see how they interact, and their banter is very, very witty. I really like their banter and everything like that. But like this whole film is based upon this tragedy that's going to happen where they're not going to become friends anymore and they're going to become mortal enemies. And I love to see that. And what I also love to see is Orion Pax in his heyday leading up to what he's going to become with Optimus Prime being the stoic, vast leader. And we all know what Optimus Prime stands for, where, he's all, he saves violence for the last resort possible, and we all know his morals. And so how hard can you mess up a character like that? But boy, did our friend Michael over here decide to mess up that character entirely in his, Transformers universe. I don't even like to call that Optimus Prime. I like to call him Optimus Crime, because that Optimus Prime can't wait to just rip faces in half, tear your head off from your spinal column, and literally shoot you point blank execution style. And he has broken he has broken the Geneva Convention multiple times in those films. So, but in this, he saves violence for the last resort. I mean, you do get to see him, kill people and everything, but he tries to reason with them, and when they're too far gone, that's when he decides to use violence to protect the people that he loves and protect himself, obviously. But it's not just completely violent where he's just bloodthirsty all the time. You get to see how he's trying to reason with Megatron to make sure, hey, let justice, we can figure this out together. But Megatron, he's already thinking that justice doesn't even exist anymore, because he's seen that his entire worldview has completely shattered in this film, which I really like to see. And even when they are still fighting, you can still see that they are trying their damn hardest to try to see one another, but at the same time, they just completely just can't see the eye anymore because of what happened throughout the film. And I really, really like this. It's just completely, this whole film is about tragedy, and I absolutely love it. And, it's kind of like, the tragedy in this film is like the main meal, basically, where you got the main, steak, but there's a bits of seasoning that help it. And most of the seasoning is absolutely amazing. You got Alita 1, who is going to be Optimus Prime's, it's canon that back in G1, Alita 1 and Optimus Prime were lovers. But in this film, it's not like a forced romance, which I actually do kind of like. You get to see what they would look like, as, a boss and an employee relationship, and then it kind of works up to a friendship, and then it's going to evolve into an actual relationship, which I can't wait to see in the sequel. Hopefully they make a sequel, please, I'm begging you. And then you got, Bumblebee, which, like I said before, they used the worst aspects of him in the trailer, and most of the jokes that were really bad come from him, unfortunately. But he's not just the witty side character. There is still some, moments where he is serious, especially in one scene where he's trying to tell Megatron, don't do this. And you can really see that, even though that he is a little bit goofy and he's a little bit lonely and a little bit insane sometimes, not insane as he's like, evil or anything, but just a little bit cuckoo, kind of. But you get to see that he still has some reason with him and that he really wants to protect the people that he cares about, which I really do like that aspect where you can have a really goofy character, but they can also be serious and help them with each other. And so, yeah, I really do enjoy those moments. And the serious moments, too, are not breaking apart by, witty banter and everything like that. When a serious moment comes on screen, it hits hard, and you dwell on that for a long period of time, which I absolutely love, because you need the serious moments in these films to make sure that you believe in these characters. And if you just have jokes all the time, it just makes the film it just completely throws out what the whole point of the film is trying to be, which I really do appreciate that they did not hold back. There is still some, like, some violent moments in this, and like there's some things where I was not expecting them to pull like actual death in this film. I knew I was going to see like them gonna get blown up and stuff like that, but there's some scenes where I'm like, oh my god, this is pretty violent, even though that they don't have blood and everything, but my god, it's pretty intense, So, my god, everything about this film is just amazing. I can go on and on about this film for about 35,000 hours, but like, we don't have time for that here. But in conclusion, this is probably the best Transformers film I've ever seen, and please give this film some support. It's not doing so well in the box office. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. It's so good. You need to see this. Even if you're not a Transformers fan, you will find something to enjoy about this film. And it also, you don't need to know about the other G1 or the Bayverse Transformer movies or anything related to the TV shows or anything like that. You can sit and watch this movie and you can still get involved in the world and the characters. And it's just a fantastic experience all around. And seeing this film in 3D also is incredible. You need to see this film in 3D. I saw this film in 3D and oh my god, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, that's going to do for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't care what you do, but you guys know what time it is. So, bye, guys.